The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Morning Market Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien coming to you live from TFNN, 8:30 a.m. Monday morning, 60 minutes to go until the opening bell. Looks to be an interesting start to the markets. We got the S&Ps right now up almost 3%, trading up 80 points, 2.8% in the positive, trading at 29.27. Markets were already up more than 1% at about 7:30 a.m. You get the story of a possible vaccine phase study, 45 people showing signs of antibodies. We'll jump over to that story from Moderna. Those shares, Moderna shares, spiking 30-40% higher, I think, this morning. We'll jump over to that chart in a moment as well. But we'll start it off. Here's a chart of your S&P. You back things up. Let's zoom it out a bit just for some context of where we were last week. 29.47 on Monday, 27.60, the lows on Thursday. Right now, you're trading at 29.26. You see the close of action on Friday. We were sitting at about 28.60. The market sitting at about 28.90 before that story. And why not? Let's jump over to that story. And there's the headline. Moderna shares surged 30% after reporting positive data on early stage coronavirus vaccine trial. To get into the specifics of it, because it's pretty encouraging. Just as a citizen, let alone a market participant, Moderna's closely watched early stage human trial for a coronavirus vaccine produced COVID-19 antibodies in all 45 participants. The biotech company announced Monday, sending the company's shares surging. Each participant received a 25 microgram, 100 microgram, or 250 microgram dose, with 15 people in each dose group. Study participants received 2 doses of the potential vaccine via intramuscular injection in the upper arm, approximately 28 days apart. Data on the second dose not available for the 250 group. At day 43, or 2 weeks following the second dose, just because it's important, this is encouraging, just as a member of society, levels of binding antibodies in the 25 microgram group were at the levels generally seen in blood samples from people who recovered from the disease, the company said. Antibodies in the 100 microgram group had antibodies that significantly exceeded levels in recovered patients. Now, keeping in mind, 15 people in each group, you're only talking about 45 people. Pretty encouraging, though, when you have all 45 people showing signs of antibodies, and the market liking that news. S&P's up about 80 points. Start things off. Let's jump over to the charts, and we'll start it off with the Dow. There's your acceleration from early this morning, let alone you back it up to Thursday, where we were on Thursday night / Friday morning. You were sitting at about 23,200. We're 1,000 points above that price level. You see the pop even from 7:30 a.m. this morning. On the vaccine story, we're up 300 plus points from that level. The Dow is already up almost 400 points coming into that news. There's your NASDAQ 100, 92.70. You back it up to Friday. We were trading at about 8,900, almost 89.27 Friday morning. There's a chart of the S&Ps we covered, 29.24. You back it up to Friday. You were at 28.11. How about 110 S&P points from where we were just Friday morning? How about that gold contract? Gold charging higher overnight as well. Reached a high of about 1775 as the market has charged higher. Gold at about 8 a.m. pulling back from 1773 to 1559. Still above where we were trading at the close of last week. There's your crude oil chart. How about a 32 handle for the price of crude? Quite a number. Crude continuing to find a bid and trading higher. And the euro-US dollar as well, accelerating from 5.30 at about 108. We're now sitting at 108.39. As we start off the week with a positive market, checking in on the VIX this morning. As you may expect, accelerating lower. Talk about some volatility. Now remember, last week we were at a 26, and in the span of about 48 hours, we were almost at 40. We're now back under 30, 28.95 on that encouraging vaccine news. We were already sitting at 30 and change on that VIX before we got that vaccine news. This market was set up to charge higher on the open, and then to get news like that at 7:30 with 2 hours left to go until the opening bell, market just charging higher in a big way. Jumping over to some of the other news stories we'll be dealing with as we go through the week. We'll start it off. Apple's retail reopening plan. So temperature checks, mandatory masks, and 25 stores to reopen this week. Apple will require customers to submit to temperature checks. I believe most of those, they're going to be non-contact infrared, along with wearing masks, completely reasonable. You got to respect what everybody thinks. We can open back up the entire economy, in my opinion. You just got to be respectful of social distancing and doing it in a smart way if possible. And that seems to be, it would make the most sense. What else did we have? JCPenney. Bankrupted JCPenney plans to spin its properties into separate real estate company. Part of JCPenney's strategy to emerge from bankruptcy includes a plan to create 2 new public businesses, one of them being a real estate investment trust, a REIT. Court documents say as much as a 35% stake in the new REIT could be sold to a third-party investor to raise cash. So they're going to break off a REIT. They're going to sell 35% of that to investors to raise cash or to provide additional funding for the REIT. Interesting to see how JCPenney, in the light of the retail sector, et cetera, how that shakes out. In terms of other stories, how about, I thought that was up. I'll jump over where we were. Well, we have the storm Arthur. Not sure if you saw this. Maybe potentially hitting North Carolina. Tropical storm season, hurricane season, technically beginning June 1st. But unfortunately, we have Tropical Storm Arthur approaching the Carolinas. Nothing too dramatic in terms of a May storm, but not what you want to see in the light of people being locked down, trying to get back to work, and so forth, and the likes of what's going on there. Big week in retail. I believe I had up an article about the big week in retail that week coming up. That's what I'm lost on. Because, let me see, SoftBank. Well, you know what we can jump to? I mean, how about this story, folks? The SoftBank Vision Fund post a $17.7 billion loss on WeWork and Uber. Loss from Uber, 5.2. WeWork added 4.6. SoftBank Group booked a record 1.36 annual operating loss. The company posted an overall operating loss of 1.36 trillion yen in the months ended March, and a net loss of 961 billion yen. I believe that's what's correlating to the huge billions up there. SoftBank founder Masayoshi Son's $100 billion Vision Fund went from the group's main contributor to profit a year ago to its biggest drag on earnings. Uber had their disappointing public debut last May, followed by the implosion of WeWork. WeWork, talk about a company that's struggling. Now Son is struggling with the impact of the coronavirus. The drop in Uber shares price was responsible about 5.2, while WeWork contributed 4.6, and another 7.5 came from the rest of the portfolio. The $75 billion Vision Fund has spent to invest in 88 companies as of March 31st, now worth $69.6 billion. Interesting stuff. Stay tuned, folks. When we come back from the break, I'm going to go into retail. We got a bunch of retail earnings coming up this week. That's what I was going to get into. We'll check it out. Quite a charge higher on Monday trading so far. You get the S&Ps sitting at 29.25. We're coming right up to that area of 29.47 that we had. The high early Tuesday was about 29.36. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Larry Pesavento is hosting a special event Thursday, May 21st from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Trade What You See, a live trading event. For the first time in over 10 years, Larry will host a live event where you'll watch over his shoulder as he trades the markets live. You'll see how he organizes his trading day, the times most likely to generate a signal, what outside information he ignores, and more importantly, what he does not ignore, and much more. Larry will trade the markets in real time, including the euro US dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, the Dow, and E-mini S&P, crude oil, gold, treasury bonds, wheat, and soybeans, and more. When you sign up, you get a month of his daily newsletter, Fibonacci 24/7 included. For all the details on Larry Pezzavento's live trading event on Thursday, May 21st, and to sign up today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
The gold market has taken off topside in a large way in 2020. If you want to take advantage of this sector, now is the time to subscribe to my gold report. The gold report took profits in 4 of its equities in the gold portfolio in the first week of January for a combined profit of 99.2%, with 2 positions left in the portfolio that have a profit of 67.5% as of January 7th. The gold report is a comprehensive look at the metals sector as well as the markets that move gold, which is the currency and bond markets. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Every Monday morning, I publish the gold report with coverage of gold, silver, bonds, the XAU, HUI, GDX, as well as more than 30 different mining equities. To see for yourself the types of profitable trades that are recommended within the gold report, sign up now by visiting TFNN.com. Don't miss out on the next great gold trade. Sign up today.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Welcome back, folks. Markets in positive territory. You get the Dow up 700 plus points, NASDAQ 100 approaching 200 points in the green, and the S&Ps right now up 82 points or approaching 3% in the positive. Quite a charge from Thursday at 2760. We're now approaching 170 S&P points, basically in a trading day, and we're at almost 9 a.m. on Monday. Pretty remarkable start. Jumping back to the headlines of the day. We'll start things off. So retail, upcoming retail earnings, checking it out. Tuesday, Home Depot. How about Walmart, Kohl's? Wednesday, Lowe's, Target, L Brands, Victoria's Secret. They had a deal to spin off Victoria's Secret to private equity. That deal falling apart. L Brands have been getting punished lately. They were already in rough shape before they were dealing with this. They have Bath & Body Works, which has been the successful brand for L Brands. Victoria's Secret really dragging them down. They're going to spin off Victoria's Secret. Market loved that idea. That falls apart. They're facing woes. We'll see what they have to say. TJ Maxx, Best Buy, and Foot Locker. Interesting week of retail earnings, especially in light of what's going on. I imagine not much guidance in the upcoming year, quarter, and we'll see where they hit. Companies like Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Target. You could see some acceleration, actually. Walmart especially. Let's jump into some of these stocks real quick just to see for context. Walmart with the market charging higher today, but for some context of where we've been, right? The market falls out of bed beginning in February, and you're sitting in Walmart at 120, and we never went below 102. We actually made it to 133. We're going to open today at about 127, and the gap we're looking for, the low on that gap, 127.70. So we have a bid ask just below that level. Target shares have not held up just as well. You look where we were. Even January, you already struggled a bit. You back it up to February, though, we are just above that price level. Remarkable Well, Target basically was trading at almost 120, call it 115, down to 90. Now we're going to open at about 122. The gap we're dealing with in January, the low there is 115. The low there is 123.44. That sounds right. So we're coming right up to that level. The highs of 130.24. You get into the home building stocks, not home building stocks, but Home Depot and Lowe's in terms of retail for your home. Home Depot, been used by a lot of professionals in the contracting business. Lowe's as well, I'm sure, but Lowe's seems like a company more geared towards retail, but we're all living at home. What are you buying? Grills, you're redoing your house, you're making your house more pleasurable if you're spending more time there. It makes sense. We're going to open in Home Depot at 246 and change. The high that we had on February before the fall off, 247. Home Depot goes from 247 to 140. We sit down there for 4 days, and before you know it, we're going to be back to 247, making it all up. Lowe's, not quite as drastic, but now we're talking about from 126, we got more than cut in half. Lowe's did, down to 60, and we're going to open at 117 today. The high 126.73. In terms of other retail stocks, jumping real quick, Kohl's, KSS, Kohl's shares struggling a bit. You know, the likes of Walmart, the likes of Target, the big giants, the ones who are going to survive this, that may be getting all the business, really accelerating. Got to take a look at Amazon when we talk about that, right? Amazon was up at 21.74. We're going to open today basically unchanged at 24.01 on Amazon. Other headlines out there, you had Powell on 60 Minutes last night. Powell saying the GDP could shrink more than 30%, but he does not see it as another depression. I watched that myself last night. Interesting interview. If you're able to check it out, you can just Google 60 Minutes online, and you're able to check out that interview. Powell talking about the economy. They actually interviewed him last Wednesday, I believe, after he had already spoken during the day. But nonetheless, that interview airing last night, making a little bit of headway and headlines. The 10-year ticking higher this morning as the market charges higher. This is Friday's action, 5:15. In terms of May 15th, we were under 0.6% at one point. Talk about a fly higher, 7 points higher, 7 basis points higher this morning at about 0.67%. How about oil? Jumping 9% to $32 as June futures contract nears expiration. WTI was up 9.24%, or $2.72, was above $32. Monday's jump is in sharp contrast to what happened last month, of course. And the more actively traded contract for July delivery jumped 8%, trading at 31.29 on that number. Jumping into stocks with action, we covered Moderna. Now let's see what they're talking about in terms of that stock moving this morning. We'll get into it. We're actually going to open at almost $90, folks. Check this out, right? Before we pull it up, this backs it up to the beginning of the year, January. You were floating at around the high teens, call it $20 even. The run really begins on March 13th. You go from 20 up to 66. News this morning hits of that phase trial. And right at 7:30, we were trading at 67.50. Actually made it up to 94. We're sitting at about 88 right now on Moderna. That's been quite a run. Goldman Sachs, so Berkshire, Warren Buffett, he sold most of its holding in Goldman, according to their quarterly 13F filing. Berkshire's sale of Goldman shares brings its holding down to 1.9 million shares from the more than 10 million, cutting its stake to about 0.6%. Berkshire had invested $5 billion in the Wall Street stalwart during the 2008 financial crisis. That quite an investment for Warren. He really reaped some big benefits in that crisis when he was cash rich, coming to the aid of companies that needed that cash and getting some sweetheart terms for the money that he got to bring things back. I mean, there's your 2008. Right? You just went from $47 in 2008 to $275. Even before this fall apart, you're at $240. But for some context of where we've been in the last year, whoops, that's not. From 250, almost cut in half, to 130. Maybe Warren saying it was time to get out as things fell apart. I wonder where he did get out on that number, because I believe these filings can date anywhere up to the first 3 months of the year, so January, February, and March, and you have Goldman shares trading anywhere from 250 down to 130 during that time. Uber and Grubhub. The Journal reports the CEOs of both companies met over the weekend to continue merger discussions as they try to work out a stock swap deal that would combine Uber's delivery service Uber Eats with Grubhub. Grubhub continues to maintain that Uber's current offer is too low. The numbers I hear they're flirting with is anywhere from about 1.9 shares of Uber for Grubhub to about 2.15 shares of Uber for every 1 share of Grubhub. Uber up this morning with the market. You're trading at about $33. Grubhub popping higher last week on that news from 44 to 65. We're sitting at about 55 right now. I mean, do the math, right? Uber sitting at 33. If you multiply it by 2, that's about 66. And they're flirting with that number from 1.9 to 2.15. So if you're trying to peg where Grubhub may trade, there you see the priced in probability of that deal happening anywhere above that level. 55.46 on Grubhub this morning. Under Armour, Alliance Chief Economic Advisor Mohamed El-Arian was named lead independent director effective at the Athletic Apparel Makers annual meeting on May 27th. El-Arian has been an Under Armour board member since 2018, so Mohamed El-Arian has a name for himself for sure. Under Armour, they're in trouble with some criminal probes into their accounting, so maybe trying to shore those up, but if he's been there since 2018, we'll see. Stay tuned, folks. We'll come right back to finish up the show. We'll be right back.